Hello, Zeb Aurelios from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Inside the Force. Carabas. Gotta go, Hera's here.
It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody.
And thanks for joining us as we buckle down and say goodbye to our Rebel crew, the Ghost crew, that has been with us for the last 4 years. We will sit here and talk a lot about that show and talk about some, just some looking back on it and how we were going to think about that as we go forward with new Star Wars material coming out. The one thing that we, I wanted to mention at the top of the show really is that as we enter March now, we will kind of dedicate this entire month to Star Wars Rebels. Indeed. So we'll get other people's opinions on the shows. We'll just, each week break down a little bit more about it. I actually want to go back and watch some episodes. I've been actually watching some episodes of Clone Wars on the weekends. I've been waking up on Saturdays and just kind of throwing it on. Man, that's such a good show. It's such a good show. I actually rewatched the Mortis. I told you I watched the Mortis episodes before we saw that episode, and it's just like the World Between Worlds. That thing, the Mortis series on the Clone Wars, just kind of turned it so upside down for a while.
Yes.
It's weird how they kind of just went away, and then didn't really do anything.
It still didn't really answer anything from that.
No,
that's what I was hoping from Rebels, but no,
totally not. Yeah. All right, so right before that, though, we'll get into some really brief news that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, really, Han Solo's been very quiet for a while, but Last Jedi, the book came out today. The audiobook and the novel hardback came out today. So I know, Dave, you're listening to it now. I'm going to try to start reading it if I can, hopefully tomorrow. Or if I can't get the book, then I'll probably just start doing the audiobook. But I'd rather read it, this one, to ingest it, to really ingest it. But
yeah, I'll definitely not going to read it. I'm going to listen to it. Plus, it's Mark Thompson that's narrating it. So, big fan of Mark Thompson. Jason Fry, who is the writer on it. I think he wrote. Didn't he write?
Jason Fry did a lot of the. What do they call them? Was it the Journey 2 books? He did some of those.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
Jeez, looking over there. The weapon of.
Weapon of a Jedi.
Weapon of a Jedi. Yeah, he did that one. And several others. He's done a lot of.
He does. Big task because this is. It's even on the cover. Extended edition.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more into it. That's not just because I haven't listened to them, but I have the Force Awakens and the Rogue One novelizations, but none of them say extended edition. So I'm assuming they're like right by the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is significant. It sounds like it's significant.
Well, the prologue already is different. There's not the crawl. There's a prologue. So it's different. It's Luke's. It's out there. People have kind of been speculating about it already because there's a big rumor about it, but it's not exactly what people think. But it's interesting. I can't wait to get into. I'm just at the escape of Dakar right now. Can't wait to get into actually the conversations that Rey and Luke have. I feel like there's going to be a lot, especially Rey and Kylo.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. And I'm wondering how they're going to do the lightsaber battle. Like how they, like what they're talking about or thinking about, how they're
that's the whole thing with Snoke. Like I wonder how much they'll do of internal dialogue, internal thoughts of all the characters.
Yeah, or even a backstory, or even a little backstory.
Yeah, very true.
Then of course, a week from that release, which was yesterday, or today. Today?
Yeah,
it's today.
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. So a week from today, you're getting a digital release of The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then 2 weeks after that, you'll get it on Blu-ray, 4K Ultra, HD. So, it's kind of Last Jedi month as well, in a sense.
Yeah.
So, but not going to be overshadowed by what we got last night, which was the finale of Rebels. Rebels, obviously everybody knows that's familiar with the show or even Star Wars at all. Rebels was the first kind of canon material we got as far as the
new canon,
the medium goes. Yeah,
for the shows. Yeah,
for once Disney bought Lucasfilm, because I want to say it was 2014, I think, right? Was when it debuted. Really shortly after the announcement, because I remember, I think it's April 2014 was the announcement that everything was canon after that point, because A New Dawn was just about to come out. Then you had the premiere of Spark of Rebellion. Then, of course, a year later we got The Force Awakens. But Rebels was our first look at the new stories that were coming out. That that people didn't really. If people didn't get into novels or comic book, the comic books weren't even out yet necessarily. I think they came out 2015. But it was there was a lot of. I remember there was a lot of turmoil. I guess the fact that we didn't get a close to the Clone Wars.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Something that we were really into. We were looking. We had been to the celebrations.
Yeah.
We had been told, there's so many episodes they have in the can ahead of time. They're already working on season 7 and 8, even though it was like we just saw 5. It's like they had plans for that series, and even after last night, I went on Twitter and I was seeing a bunch of hashtags, and they were like there was a lot of people on there saying, "Hey, now that Rebels is over, let's go back and finish Clone Wars."
True, yes.
Like, give us the ending, give us Clone Wars the true ending that it deserves, just like Rebels, So there's still a lot of people that want those stories, even though we know where those stories were going to end, because the Clone Wars came to an end by episode 3.
Yeah.
But there were plans for Rex and Ahsoka. And more from Anakin and Yoda, discovering more and blah, blah, just so much more to get into. But Rebels, the thing that was difficult, I think, with Rebels in the beginning was, unlike Clone Wars, you're centering around a whole group of characters that you never met before.
Right.
So, in my opinion, they took a huge chance because they could have not been received well.
Yeah.
Because as you get closer to the original trilogy and you're introducing Jedi,
right?
It's like, what? How is this going to line up, and where is this going to go, and how, is this what? How are you going to answer the questions of why aren't they in A New Hope, and but. So we'll get to that, but and we'll see if we'll talk about whether or not we think that's happened or not. But overall, before we dive into, let's start just in these last 2 episodes. Case, overall your feeling of the type of finale that we got for this thing?
Well, it definitely felt like a finale. I was watching it, and then the kind of the current timeline before they go into the epilogue with how everybody is in like kind of the future.
Yeah.
Of the timeline, where basically it ended. They saved Lothal, and the ghost is flying over the massed crowds and stuff like that. And I even said out loud, my wife was watching it. I said like that. Yeah, this feels like a finale.
Yeah,
this is a good ending. This is a pretty good close. And then
it was kind of a mirror image of the ending of Return of the Jedi, special edition.
It felt very much like the celebration thing. And it was interesting. I thought, I was like, oh, there's got to be more. I mean, I knew there was like 5 minutes left of the episode, but I was just thinking like, they're saying how they're gonna wait for the next fight for the Empire, and I'm thinking like, I'm thinking like, there's no way that they're gonna keep Lothal for very long. So I feel like we should see like the next battle pretty quickly. You would logically think, but then they go on to say like that the battle actually never happened, it never came to be. They just kind of left Lothal alone. So, but it felt like a good ending. I mean, everybody's story was wrapped up. There's really there's a kind of a cliffhanger, but there's pretty much all the loose ends were tied up. Yeah, in terms of story arcs.
Yeah, I think that I guess the one thing there wasn't really too many surprises in my mind as I was watching him. It was very good.
Yeah,
but it truly does. When you start the series with Spark of Rebellion in the first season, it clearly started with the Empire occupying Lothal, right? And you had Ezra there, seeing these Star Destroyers approaching the city. It's like, and in this finale, they
literally
takes them away, right?
Yeah.
So it is a true story, but in between, you had so many things happening. They left Lothal for a while and came back, and then you had Ahsoka's storyline and Maul's storyline and all these different things intertwined, but it always came back to Lothal. So it truly was there truly was a beginning and a middle and an end to this thing, and an end to somewhat an end to these characters in this part of the timeline. I think I was I don't know. I think I didn't expect, but I did really love it, but I did expect a little bit more from Thrawn. I didn't. I feel like they tried to inject a little kind of fan service with bringing the Emperor on and having that moment of trying to convert or try
one last push.
Yeah, that one last push to get Ezra.
I guess that was related to the portal, which related to the world between worlds. So I guess that was the whole.
He's still trying to get into that.
Yeah,
access that because if you watched, I don't know if you probably didn't watch Recon.
I didn't think no.
Yeah, Recon. I watched that tonight, and it was he explains how Palpatine is trying. He can't access that world without being pulled into it. So like that time in World Against Worlds where he's reaching through, he's trying to grab something so he can get in. He can't actually step into it. So Ezra, if he can get Ezra to enter that world, he can then grab and follow him in and then start accessing all that. So the fact that he destroys it, then obviously that's and now that Ezra's not around anymore for a little while, I guess he never is able to access that world. But that was, a lot of fans argued, why introduce that element of Star Wars?
Yeah.
You weren't on the last show, so what was your, what's your feelings about that world between worlds?
I was kind of hoping that episode, they used that episode to introduce the idea of what essentially is time travel, but also close the idea of time travel. Because I mean, I've heard fan theories and fan kind of sort of requests, I guess, saying like, they should just do like an Abrams thing and do a time travel thing and basically creating an alternate reality so that you can recast Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, all that, whatever, that kind of stuff. And I think that was even like Kevin Smith's big story idea. I've heard one time he talked about like his like ultimate Star Wars movie would be like basically it would involve time travel Like it was, I heard it somewhere. I feel like he said it in some kind of convention, but not to pull it up. But I don't think it should be in Star Wars because it just opens the door. I mean, unless we get more clarification about what it means and how you can access that portal. Because now that it's here, it's like I feel like there can be a story. Why wouldn't they write a story, let's say, set place thousands of years before, where some ancient Jedi is accessing this temple and just decides to alter time? I don't know. Like, why can't... I feel like it opens the door to many possibilities of changing the timeline, fixing, basically retconning a lot of things and fixing a lot of things and starting over, almost like a DC Crisis event where it just wipes the timeline away and you start over. I don't like that. I want a long timeline. Like 50 years from now, if there's still, Star Wars movies are still being made, what timeline is it going to be in? Yeah. I like to think that it's way after or way before and not rebooting and remaking stories that have already happened with younger actors, kind of thing. So,
kind of what Star Trek did.
Exactly. So I don't want that to happen. I want that to just keep going.
I
agree. Keep building on the legacy like they did.
I agree. I think I don't know if there's an ultimate plan. I don't know if he has an ultimate plan, as in Filoni, because he says in Recon that he's been thinking about this for a long time. And what he said was really just that fact that he wanted to illustrate how all of these stories are connected, right? In a way,
connects all the movies and everything.
Yeah, like
which is cool.
Which is really neat because if you think about it, like it's how many, because my question was, and maybe you can answer. I wonder how you would answer this, because my question was, the Mortis painting or whatever, right? Yeah. That's on the temple.
Yeah.
Like who? I mean, the Jedis don't know about them, or did they know? Because when Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka show up on Mortis in the Clone Wars, and they have no idea who they are.
Right.
It's not like there's some teaching that they are like, oh, this is the father, the daughter, and the son. It's like, so where did that come from? Who painted that on there? And somehow they were the way of opening this portal that allowed Ezra to go in. And I think, if I'm mistaken, it seemed like Ezra was the only one that could get in. Or else it was like only one person could get in. I mean, because it kind of closed right out behind him, I think, right?
Yeah.
So there's just so many questions about that place and why it exists. Was it created by the Father and them? Was it created by Jedi, or is it how are these portals even? You know what I mean?
Right.
And the Emperor knows about it, so somehow it probably in some Sith teachings, but they can't access it. They can't gain. They can't go in and manipulate time. And then the other thing I thought that was cool about it was that when he saved Ahsoka, I felt like there was a little bit of an understanding that she can't go anywhere but back to her own time. Because when they were running, I mean, she could have went with him, but she chose to, I have to, go back and you've come find me kind of thing. So she had the presence of mind to say, I got to go back to where I came from because I can't either disrupt it or cause a problem. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. I felt like it wasn't, to me, it almost felt like it wasn't a permanent thing. Like it can't be a thing where you go in and just start saving people without having a consequence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a paradox, or something.
Exactly. I mean, hopefully. I mean,
like Flashpoint.
Maybe they'll never touch on it ever again, which is fine, but it still exists.
To me, it doesn't feel like they will. To me, it doesn't feel like that. I'm with you. I think you will. I think you will turn away a ton of fans if you start altering timelines and redoing stuff. I just don't think that that's Star Wars, and but again, it was full fan service. you start hearing lines from the movies, and you know, it was incredible to see that. But anyway, so you know, the finale, as we get into the finale, and I think the biggest thing that happened was the fact, at least the surprise, was the fact that Ezra did what he did. But the question is, and again, you didn't see Recon, it was answered. The question is did he survive, or did he sacrifice himself with the Star Destroyer? And what do you think?
I assumed he survived. Otherwise,
but see, my question is how? If the windows are busted out,
he's a Jedi. They can survive in space. This is established. And maybe they took him somewhere. They took him close to a planet. Maybe I don't know where he went.
Yeah,
he survives. They wouldn't have left it with such a hopeful ending if he's like, oh wait, no, he's just actually dead. Ahsoka and Sabine are going on a fool's errand to find him because he's dead.
True.
That's not. And Filoni has proven once before that you don't have to die to be explained why you're not in the movies. So he did it again with Ezra, and he's very much alive. I have to believe. This is what I was hoping would happen. And I've said it on these episodes before, I hope they don't just kill him. Hope they somehow explain his absence.
Yeah.
And that way, Mon Mothma, all she has to be is just convinced that he's dead. So that's what it is. They just told her, yeah, he's gone. Okay, Ezra's gone. He's not coming back, kind of thing. So, okay, to her, there's no more Jedi left.
Yep.
So they did it. Good job.
Good job, everybody. That's clearly what happened, and they obviously explained why. Technically, Sabine's not around.
I guess she stayed on Lothal.
Yeah, all of them did pretty much. I don't think Hera's at Yavin at that point either.
And she, it's like it almost seems like they're all staying on Lothal
because the Ghost is on Rogue One on Yavin. For some reason, it's not there during the Battle of Yavin.
Hera's still commissioned as a general throughout this whole time. So I guess they live on Lothal. That's where they're staying on Lothal. But when she gets called for duty, she just goes and does her thing. And comes back, and Zeb, obviously, he goes back to his plan, which is awesome.
But again, I think that's
way after
because that's after
the war.
After the war,
yeah.
So he's battling as well. Callus is still around, but no, I think the Ezra thing was. I think that was smart. It's smart because Thrawn is also gone. So. And yes, Filoni does say that they're alive on Recon. So obviously there's going to be more stories centered around. Thrawn's going to return. I think.
That's so exciting.
I mean, if you think about it, it's almost it's kind of setting up the same timeline as the Thrawn trilogy, where it's like 5 years after Return of the Jedi or so. It's like
very well
he's around still, but in this current timeline, I don't know what, because the First Order is starting to rebuild at this point. So
could go into the unknown regions,
Correct.
So
yeah.
Maybe the Chiss finds them.
Yeah.
Bring them back. It's Eli Ventos.
Eli Ventos. That's right.
There's actually a really cool reference to the Thrawn trilogy in this episode where Thrawn, when they tell him that the space whales have destroyed all the blockade, Thrawn says, "Give me Captain Pelion." That's his captain in the Thrawn trilogy.
Oh.
That's his big. And that was like the big question when we first introduced the Thrawn. I was wondering. A lot of people were wondering, well, where's Pelion? That was like his right hand man.
Yeah.
Like when
I didn't catch that.
When the Thrawn novel came out, is this Eli guy, and I'm thinking like, well, why wouldn't they have just made it Captain Pelion? Like he's like one of the biggest Imperial characters in the after post Jedi timeline in the expanded universe in old legends. So I was so happy that they referenced him in that. So I wish we saw him.
They kind of made that. They kind of gave that mantle to Sloane.
Yeah.
Ray Sloane. So I think I think the whole Ezra storyline came to a good conclusion. I think we're definitely going to get more of Ezra later on down the line. I think I had a feeling for a while there that I thought Zeb was going to die.
I thought that a couple times.
As soon as he
leaps in the battle, or whatever, charging the onslaught.
And I had a feeling that the clones were going to die. I knew Rex, because Rex is in Return of the Jedi.
Sabine even said, and Rex fought in the Battle of Endor too.
As Commander Rex or something like that.
Just want to let you all know. Yes. He's in Endor. So, he's that guy. Come on.
He is that guy.
Say it.
He is definitely that guy. But I guess they all kind of fought in the Battle of Endor. I think. I mean, it's like.
I don't know if they all did, but Hera definitely. She mentioned Hera and Zeb by name.
Definitely.
Hera and Rex by name.
Yes.
She didn't say. I wish they had mentioned Scarif. Actually, now I'm thinking about it.
You're right.
Mentioned it.
Yeah.
And Dave Filoni said they wouldn't do an entire overlap with it. You would see the Battle of Scarif in its entirety, but I wish they had mentioned it at least.
That's true.
Would have been cool.
That's true, because they were there. At least the ghost was there.
I assume that it was just Hera and Chopper, and maybe she had a gunner. Maybe Zeb was the gunner. Zeb was probably the gunner. Sabine seems, based off what Ezra told her, she seems like she's pretty committed to Lothal.
Yes, I think she's there still.
Interesting. She's got a little haircut.
It doesn't feel like she went and fought.
No,
at Lothal or at Yavin or. I mean, we know from the comics too. Hera's on Hoth, so she's with the rebellion once. Either after the Death Star explodes and they decide they can, because that's the thing we don't know at the end is exactly when they decided. Oh, you know what? They're not coming.
That's still
because it wasn't Return of the Jedi. It wasn't after Jedi.
Yeah. And that still surprised me why they wouldn't come. I kept thinking, you guys are so sure, you're going to survive. The Empire will destroy this planet.
Yeah, I know.
They will bring Star Destroyers and just bombard it from space.
You're right. It is a little confusing.
But maybe the Emperor's just done with it. He's just, I don't know. I don't care about it anymore because the Jedi Temple's gone. The portal's gone. I have no use for the planet.
Well, what do you think? Because we're still, at that point, we were still a year away from Rogue One.
I would say a year
something
and a half.
That.
Yeah, a year to 2 years away.
Yeah. So something got the Emperor distracted, I guess, until the whole plans.
Yeah, I feel like he just lost
the Death Star. I mean, it was just a military. It was at the end, it was Thrawn trying to build his strikers, right? His TIE strikers or defenders.
Yeah.
So it
was
a manufacturing.
I think Hidalgo pointed this out. He made a tweet where I think it was season 2. I could be wrong, but I think it was season 2 where they laid the seed work of what ultimately the Empire's doing, which was the whole Jedi Temple excavation thing. Because there was a character that Hera was talking to through hologram. This character was on Lothal and was a rebel person, and she was saying basically telling I found out what the Empire's really doing here, and then her communication gets cut off. This is a very small moment,
really,
in season 2.
Oh dang!
And while we're talking, I'm going to pull that tweet up. I think hopefully he didn't delete it because he likes to delete his tweets.
Well, ultimately, that's what it is. Then the Palpatine trying to get into the.
I think so. And that's what he's always up to. He's always trying to find more about the Force and all these worlds. And
I mean, he does. It's known that he's definitely going around and collecting artifacts, going into temples, and obviously hunting down Jedi. I mean. He's, as also in, I think it was the Lando comic, right? I mean, he has in his ship or whatever, he's got just tons of artifacts, Sith, Jedi, everything. So, not surprising at all if that is the ultimate goal, was to uncover that temple on Lothal, which begs the or begs the question of how long it's been there. Yeah. It's not the first, obviously, because we know that's on Octu. But seems like it's an old temple. It has to mean something because it's got freaking Mortis.
Yeah.
It's like that part just really confuses me.
I still want to know.
I still want to know what the heck is going on there and how they know about it.
That's crazy.
So so anyway, I think overall the overall it was a good finale. I think it was a good way to end the show, I think.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, were those the royal guards that came and fought Ezra there? They looked like the Praetorian guards.
They looked like the Praetorian guards.
But they had to have been royal guards, just more combative,
I guess.
Combat versions of royal guards.
They had like some levitating
that was weird.
weapons, it's like...
It's insane.
The
elite.
I was blown away, yeah. Like
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, very surprising. So let's talk about then, now that it's over, the overall addition into the Star Wars saga. What does Rebels, this whole series, mean as a whole into the Star Wars up with? Because if you think about it, we've got 9 movies. The 10th one being Solo, getting ready to come out, but we have 9 movies out right now. Obviously, all those are connected, and probably the most front and center medium that people recognize the most, right? Of the films. Then you've got Clone Wars, that is a TV series that tells a very important time of that saga, because the Clone Wars is something that's mentioned back in 1977. From then, it was always just an imagination of what the Clone Wars was actually, what it meant and what it was. We saw the Clone Wars. You had prominent characters in there still: Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Emperor Palpatine, and you had characters you were familiar with because of the films. So you get Rebels now, completely, like we said, completely different characters, new characters. Eventually we get some familiar faces, but at first it's like, it's these 5 people that you just don't know. And so in the end, where do you think this series, not the stories really, but just that the overall series itself, how does it fit, or how well does it fit with the overall? It's a pretty broad question, but it's like,
definitely. It still connects. It connects everything. Especially with that World Between Worlds episode. But you have kind of the Dark Times era, this 19-year gap where nothing has been told in this new canon until now. Where, and that's what's interesting, is that this small group of people, it starts on Lothal, but in the middle, the bulk of the series, it takes them, like they're forced and being pushed around all of the galaxy and becoming more relevant, more valuable characters. Like they get sucked into Saw Gerrera stuff. They get sucked into almost uncovering the Death Star on Geonosis. They get sucked into all these different worlds and characters, the Ryloth stuff, and they become such a bigger part of the galaxy, but it ends on, yet again, a very small part of the galaxy. So you think it was going to be like this very kind of isolated story, but it's connected to the whole thing. It's connected to all the movies, the prequels and the original trilogy, simply because you have it closes off what was started with the Clone Wars, and then it opens up to what we know of the films, and then even beyond the films now, like where it's it's connecting everything. It's connecting all trilogies and all timelines, and I think Dave Filoni himself has just been, second to George Lucas, the most integral part of the saga of Star Wars. Like he's just added and expanded it so much, and so many things have been offshoot based off his creativity. The Clone Wars was a lot of what George Lucas still created, but Dave Filoni picked it up, ran with it, and from that made Rebels, and from Rebels we're going to get so many other stories, and probably a 3rd animated series from Filoni, and it's yet again like he has been like the main driving force of keeping Star Wars alive, and Rebels, I think, has been such an important part of that, especially in this new canon, this new kind of era of Star Wars, and Rebels has been very important for that.
I do think it was a I do think it was not an integral part, but a very well. I think it was an integral part in the sense that it had to explain some of the. It not only had to wrap characters from that series, but it had to wrap characters from the Clone Wars as well. Because we got so many unanswered questions at the end of Clone Wars and so many unfinished episodes. I think that this series proves, without a doubt, that it didn't get away from that era. But it got away from those main characters, and you could introduce new characters. I mean, you did that in The Force Awakens, but you still had your Han and your Leia.
Yeah, it was still grounded.
And your Chewbacca. And,
fundamentals.
Absolutely. Yeah. And but, Rebels, even though eventually we got those things, Vader, and maybe that's what made it, maybe that's what made it successful for the 4 years. But I do got to believe that that was everybody's hope. But I don't know if they expected that. I mean, I truly didn't really expect to see much Vader and as much as we did.
The Maul and Obi-Wan stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right? Never. So I was completely content with learning about these new characters, seeing where it goes and how they fit into the Rebel Alliance and how they, whether or not because we didn't really even know. Again, there was no Rebel Alliance at this point, right? So it was just this cell of rebels. I mean, they could have stayed there forever and not ever joined the rebellion, never came across Mon Mothma,
Right.
But the fact that they did, it made it more. It just made it more connected to the universe, right? But it goes back to, and it does prove that you can do this. I mean, you can do a rebel cell all over the galaxy, right? I mean, maybe not. It'd be weird to do a Jedi again or something like that, but
right.
But also, like Rogue One proved, you don't have to have Jedi to be successful, right? We've talked about this 100 times on the show. It's a question really of when they're going to get away from this era of civil war, basically. Of Republic versus Separatists, Empire versus
always
rebellion,
trying to overthrow, push out the Empire.
Yeah, exactly. There's always going to be some group that's trying to take over, So maybe again, we've talked about it. Maybe the Ryan trilogy is a different era. Maybe the Game of Thrones guys is a different era. Who knows? But right now, we're still around this Civil War era of the original trilogy, and I think it was a good way to tell the story of how the rebellion started. Not necessarily started, but the alliance was formed. I mean, the rebellion started right after Episode 3, basically, but completely in secret until these cells started busting out. So, I think that it truly helped. That Kanan had a Jedi connection because his comic connected us back to the Clone Wars, where he was mentored under
Balaba.
Deepa
Balaba.
I used to be able to pronounce it right, but
I feel like I'm pretty close.
But how they, how his relationship with her was, and then what happened with the clones that turned against him and all that stuff, and how he got into doing what he's doing now. No, I think it was a fantastic addition. I think Filoni, like you, just repeating exactly what you said. I think Filoni is the George Lucas of this generation. What a huge role to be filled.
Right.
I mean, the creator of Star Wars. And I feel like, I mean, I know Kathleen Kennedy runs the company, but Filoni, I've got nothing but confidence and admiration for him to be able to do what he's doing, and I think he's doing it unbelievably well. Which is creating stories, which is expanding Star Wars, which is making sure that we have, they mentioned in Rebels Recon too. They talked to a bunch of the crew, and they were like asking them, what it meant and all this stuff, and they just like, it was incredible because they talked about how they weren't out to make a kid's show. They weren't out to make an adult show. They were just out to make a show, make a good series. And that's all, to me, that's all we can ask of anybody working on Star Wars is, tell a good story. That's all it is. It's give us something entertaining, and something that expands the universe. So, so I think is a good addition. I think that we, needed something like this, especially after the buyout, where there was big question marks of where Star Wars was going to go. Even though we were looking forward to Force Awakens, we knew that there were going to be other mediums, comics, books, TV shows, and this one did really well. So, what do you think is next? Let's go down the line. Where do you think we see these characters pop up, or which ones do we get stories for first?
Like, what would be so cool to see, and I know they could pull it off. And you just write a story to make it happen. But like, I was talking to Cody earlier about it. But like, if like Ahsoka and Ezra and like Luke work together to like start like a Jedi Academy kind of thing, because I always thought that if there was going to be a third. You talked about it too, like the third animated series would be like the original characters. That would be like that's like
after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, that's like the best idea. I think it like 10 years after, like Ben Solo's like 10ish. I think it might be official that he kind of started his training when he's more late teens. I don't know.
I think he was.
So if you wanted to start, that's late and that's pushing it really close to Force Awakens, but. I would like it. Again, I don't know when Luke starts to train other Jedi. Is it when Ben is older? I don't know. But like, I would like to see that era where Luke is trying to rebuild, and Ben is starting to learn the Force, and you're getting kind of his balance with the dark side early on, and you're seeing just the state of things, the state of rebuilding everything, and the continuing conflict of other. The First Order is being. They're in secret. They're building up in secret. So it'd be other conflicts. It'd be crime syndicates. It'd be other organizations that are terrorizing the galaxy, and Leia and Mon Mothma, and everybody's trying to keep the balance and keep So maybe so something like that along those lines. I don't know how you can make it unique because again it feels kind of similar. But I think you're just pretty much guaranteed with the crew that Dave Filoni has. And their abilities to write great stories, putting that in the setting with the original characters, like I think it seems like it should win. It should be super successful, and that's what. And you would get, yes, it's fan service, but you would get that checklist of everybody wanting to see the original characters again, together on the same screen, even though it's animation, but still they're together and it's live, not a comic book, not a novel. But now we know that Hera's there, so it almost seems like the third series will be yet again the Ghost Crew. Maybe not Zeb, and he seems pretty sad. Maybe Sabine does more. Maybe she stays on the fall, but like Hera's still active. Now you got Jason Syndulla, so he's I guess about 5 by the time Return of the Jedi hits. So he's gonna be around. He could be around 10 or 15. If he's Force sensitive, I would think he is.
Yep.
So, with his crazy green hair, you have so many characters now that I want to know more about. I want to know who Jason Solo is. Oh, it's Jason Solo here.
I know. It's spelled the same way.
Exactly the same. So, Jason Syndulla, I want to know about him now and how he fits in everything. So, it's like, where are these characters in Force Awakens? Now you got to answer that question.
Yeah.
We just answered it where they are in the original trilogy. Now it's like, now they're alive past it. I did not everything that happened in this finale. It's like I was kind of hoping it would happen like this. I thought logically Ezra would die, but I guess I should not. I'm glad it happened the way it was. That's what I was really hoping. But now it's like, now that we saw that they've survived past the movies, where are they now? where are they? So I feel like we got to get those questions. And I think that's what the third series could answer.
Yeah. I think I'm telling you, I had a thought that Ahsoka was going to show up at the end, not in the future, at the end of the battle.
I was thinking
there,
that too, yeah.
somehow showing up to help. But the fact that she showed up after Return of the Jedi, I was like, what? Wait a minute. So she's still alive. Who knows when she got off of Malachor?
Yeah,
right? I mean,
how could she have gotten off Malachor?
Yeah, I mean,
no mode of transportation.
Somebody had to have found her, or she. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how you eat on Malachor or what's on there. I don't know. So anyway, you don't know when that happened. Sabine obviously hooks up with her, and then they, my question at first is like, well, not my question, but my thinking at first is, okay, well, there's the next series. They're off trying to find Ezra, Sabine and Ahsoka. It's like, and I think that would be a great series. Them going out, and so this is post Return of the Jedi, right? So there's no real First Order or any Empire. It's the rebuilding of the Republic now, and they're out just trying to find out what happened to Ezra after so many years. It's been 6 years or so, 6-7 years.
Yeah.
Now they keep referring to the Battle of Endor, but I mean, I would think maybe it's Battle of Jakku, because that was the true end of the Empire, right?
They should have done that.
They should have done Jakku, right? They should have said the Battle of Jakku. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hera, I agree. I think that was more closed than Sabine and Ahsoka. Obviously, and Zeb was kind of closed. It felt like he kind of retired almost, and
Kallus is on a planet full of Lasats.
Yeah, just hanging out with them.
Only human.
What's interesting, I just thought of this actually sitting here. What's interesting to think of is, and I agree. I still agree with you. I still stand by what I said. Was I think the next animated series is sometime during that 30-year gap.
Yeah,
7 and 8 or 6 and 7. But now how crazy would this be? Is to think that Luke does start his academy with an Ezra, because you think about it, Ezra's an older character by that point, right?
He's just as old as Luke. Yeah,
he's just as old as Luke, correct?
Yeah.
So he's, by the time Force Awakens, by the time maybe Ben's 15 or so. So you're talking 15 years after Jakku, and then that's 25 years after the Empire started. Is that about right? So that's 40 years or so. So they're about 40 at that point, right?
Close, yeah, close,
give or take.
Around that.
So Ezra's about that age. Anyway, so what I'm getting at is that, I mean, I guess I know it's not true, but maybe it's not true. I don't know. I mean, is it possible that he actually still can be Lord Santeca?
Oh.
Because he comes back and establishes this. I don't know. I'm just.
That'd be crazy if they did that. Yeah, that would be pretty nuts.
I'm not saying that's. I believe that, but
crazy.
But if he comes back, and I agree with you, I mean, does he help Luke? That would be crazy good.
Yeah.
Do they sense Jason as a Force sensitive that could be trained? What if Jason is actually one of the Knights of Ren? What if he follows Ben?
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool. Because what if in episode 9 we actually get some identities of these Knights of Ren that we haven't seen yet?
How I like to think of it is like this third series, you have Jason and you have Ben as like best buds, almost like an Obi-Wan.
That's pretty cool.
And they
That's
fight,
pretty cool.
And Ben kills Jason, and when he takes over and destroys
yeah.
the Jedi in the Academy. So like it's like this big bad fight, and he kills him. Be sad.
Or he joins them. Or he joins them.
Yeah.
Maybe he kills Ezra.
Yeah. Gosh.
Then I don't know. So I do like the fact that that'd be a crazy good series to bring Ezra back. Mm-hmm. Him and Luke, start the order. That'd be incredible. Mm-hmm. Knowing that Ezra was on Tatooine when Luke was a little kid, right? You know? I mean,
I saw
not a kid, 17 or something like that, right?
Actually, he didn't see him. He wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
When that happened,
right?
But yeah. But he knows Obi-Wan. That's the thing.
Yes,
that's the connection.
He does know Obi-Wan. Yeah. So I think Ahsoka. What a character Ahsoka has become.
Yeah. Wow.
From little snips.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and her rendering on that last shot was phenomenal.
She looked amazing.
She did.
Just glorious and radiant in all her white regalia. It's like, gosh, she looked awesome.
Yeah, when she turned around, I'm like, whoa, that is incredible.
Do you think she's been on Lothal since?
See, possibly.
Battle of Yavin to Battle of Endor.
Oh,
with everybody though, like he's been there that whole time, or I didn't get the sense that she just showed up.
No, I agree with you. No, I think she's been there.
Yeah,
but I don't know when. I think I don't know how long after, because that happened in season 2, which was a couple of years ago in the show when her and Vader fought.
Oh,
and it's been about a year or two, right?
Yeah.
So she's been stuck on Malachor this whole time. I don't know.
Hopefully, she found a crazy force way to get off because that bird was there with her. Maybe somehow they. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's got to be something.
I don't know. And yeah, so but she hadn't made it back enough in time to get to help them. So shortly after that, she got there. Maybe she helped wait it out. I don't know. She didn't obviously go fight in the rebellion. Because we don't know about her or hear about her throughout the series. So, but, she is one of my favorite characters. I think it's going to be, I feel like even though George introduced her in the Clone Wars, Filoni has done a great job of continuing her story. And I think it's somebody that he holds fond and holds dear. And I think we're going to get more of more of her story for sure.
So we got a live action movie with Sabine and Ahsoka.
Maybe it's a live action TV show.
Wow. Ooh, that'd be crazy.
That would be incredible.
I can't see Filoni do a non-animation because I know that's his bread and butter. But I would love to see what.
But he talked about how he liked being on the set of Rogue One.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would love to see what that would be, a live action.
I would again. I would have all kinds of confidence in him.
Yeah,
to be able to pull that off. So, that begs the question then too. Not just the characters, but what is next? Is it do you think it's an animated series next, or do you think is it both, or is it an animated or a live action show? And are these characters involved?
I think if it's animation, definitely some of these characters would be involved. I think there's been some rumors about what the next animated series would be based off some, was it Lucasfilm registered that some of these brand names and all these kind of identities, and people are thinking it's a new animated series, perhaps, or something like that. But we're definitely getting a live action show. That's probably coming next year sometime, late next year. But I would think. I just would think that we'll be getting an announcement of a third animated series very soon. And odds are they'll probably hold off on releasing it until next year for this new streaming service. I can't see why they would put it on Disney XD again and do all that, but I feel like they may hold off on that. So, yeah, I think 3D animated might come sooner just because I feel like it's faster based off what we've seen so far already. And I think it will include some of the Ghost Crew. I think Dave Filoni he'll keep it going.
Yeah, I think we're getting an announcement very soon.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I think that Well, I mean, how far in advance do you think they are in stories? Like, I mean, if the streaming service is hitting next year, I mean, do you think like for the last like 2 or 3 years they've been planning?
I think
or do you think it's only been in the last year?
I would think Filoni's been working just in the last year on new stories. Whenever he stopped,
Do you think they've even gone into production on anything yet?
I don't know.
You don't think so?
Maybe previs, probably no casting, no
Yeah.
recording, like with the actual actors. I can't imagine that because I think that's a pretty quick process. So I'm sure they'll wait on that. So yeah, I think concept probably building out some characters. I mean, Filoni's always drawing. He's always working. So I'm sure he's already got sketches and everything.
He has like the next 5 seasons.
I'm sure that
for the next show already.
I mean, he's going to announce it, and as soon as we get the announcement, then we'll probably quickly get a cast, and then the recording takes no time, and then I can definitely see us getting the third animated series before a live action series next year, like next summer, next fall will be late. I feel like that's all I can imagine. We'll get it. I don't know, probably next fall.
We could get something this fall.
This fall? That's what I thought initially. I thought we would get it this fall just because of how fast I feel like they work. You know, it still takes a while, but like Rebels happened fast.
I feel like it could. Yeah, I feel like something could be launched this fall.
That's why I think they would hold off. Like it could be this fall, but I think they would, even if it's possible, I feel like they would hold it for the streaming service.
For the streaming service, sure.
But just so they can capitalize on those subscriptions and getting all that, all that extra revenue. But
I think a live action is coming too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
and
definitely.
I think that the big push was that it was going to be some underground bounty hunter type stuff, but
I don't think it's going to be a dark show. I mean, if it's underground bounty hunter, I don't think it's going to. I mean, just
how cool would it be if it was Ahsoka?
Yeah,
and Sabine live action versions of them. I think that would be.
And Rosario Dawson has a good chance again of playing Ahsoka. She says she wants to be Ahsoka.
Rosario Dawson.
Rosario, like the fans want. I think she's even like she's caught on to it. She's like, yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Wow, I didn't even think about something like that. That would be, yeah.
I wonder if I can find some like
interesting
fan mock-ups of that because that would happen. That kind of talk happened a while ago.
I feel like what's her name, Tia Shakar. I feel like she could play Sabine.
Oh,
the voice of Sabine. I feel like she can play Sabine.
A lot of these characters could.
Yes, they're very shaped, and the likeness of them is very close to what they portray.
So there's just a fan concept of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka.
Wow. That is incredible.
And she's the right age. I mean, she's still, from her stuff that she's done with the Marvel TV shows,
yes.
Like she can do action.
She can, for sure. No, she's a great actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I wanted to pull up this, we put the Twitter poll out of what, now that it's over, what do you think will be the next show announced? Mm-hmm. And 63% went with animated. Mm-hmm. 26 said both. I put both as a third option. Only 11% said live action. So, I think we said in a previous episode, I think this summer I think we could get an announcement before Han comes out. Mm-hmm. But I think this summer we're going to get just a ton of what's coming in the streaming service.
Yeah.
What's coming all of next year leading up to episode 9.
I mean,
announcement of Celebration. We still haven't even got a Celebration announcement.
Oh my gosh, yes. Just one more thing to kind of add to why, live action. I'm sorry, animated show would be like the next thing is, like on Lucasfilm, like their jobs, like their career. You can look for their jobs. They have postings of directors in their animation department. Oh. So like episodic director. Parentheses project hire. So I guess they're looking for people just for a specific show. And you go and read the description. It's like you'll be working with the people that did the animated show of Rebels and Clone Wars, and it's basically their animation department. So tells me that they're already looking to hire directors for the next animated show. Mm-hmm. So that's very exciting.
Wow.
Nothing for live action, but
it's hard. It's hard to post something like that because that's very public too.
It is. I was kind of shocked that no one else is really.
Because I think if they're hiring directors for episodic live actions, they wouldn't do a posting of it.
That's why
they just go talk to their agents.
Yeah, that's why I can't. I'm sure it could be something else.
Yeah,
it could be like a Forces of Destiny thing. I don't know. It could be like a little.
Yeah, very true.
Something else like that, but I feel like they're already working on it.
Okay, so a couple of questions I thought we'd kind of go through on the show too is like talk about some of your favorite moments. Like what would have been, what are the moments that kind of stand out for you the past 4 seasons?
And I think they did a great job with Spark Rebellion, starting it all off. Because leading into the show, my anticipation was Ezra. Like I was really keen on learning more about Ezra, and I was so completely satisfied with the first episode, the first movie that they put out there. But what will always be like just the greatest stories in my mind of the show is the Malachor season, that season finale with the Malachor stuff. That was like little 2-parters there. The best Star Wars storytelling matches, any movie. I think it was incredible. And then again, that next season with Maul and Obi-Wan, like that episode was great, and how they handled that relationship and that story arc so delicately was brilliant. I think definitely just that always stands in my mind. Just and probably it's part because they harken back to Clone Wars era and prequel era, and they and just knowing the context behind those episodes and the weight that those episodes bring into it. It's, with the Anakin and Ahsoka stuff and with the Maul and Obi-Wan stuff, like you're already starting those episodes with such a dramatic weight, and I think that's why it lingers with me so well, because it delivers and it ends it so well.
Yeah,
I think those arcs are quite amazing.
Yeah, I definitely anything, I think it wasn't the end of season 1 where we got Vader. And when he, first walks out and he's like, I think wasn't it Tarkin that said that Governor Price failed and now they're using somebody else, and then Vader walks off and you're like, what? They're bringing Vader onto the show? It's like, and then of course season 2 was about Vader until, also I think the end of season 1, Ahsoka was
the Fulcrum thing,
which completely surprised me.
Yeah.
Like I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was a great moment, bringing her back, and of course Vader, and then that battle with, to have Darth Maul and Darth Vader in the same episode realm, in the same area.
A lot of villains. Like, the brother and sister.
Yeah, you had a lot. All those guys, Inquisitors. But the fact that we had Maul and Vader, it's like because they were 2 different eras.
Yeah.
Darth Maul in episode 1. He died in episode 1 technically.
Yeah.
And then you had Vader, and it's like now they're in the same room together in a sense. Unbelievable. I think the definitely the Obi-Wan Maul moment was unbelievable. And then I think the Kanan death was truly incredible. Yeah, powerful, incredible. If you were to go out as a Jedi, that's how you go out. Sacrificing yourself.
Yeah,
saving people. Shows his power and his passion. It was just.
Yeah,
it was really well done. I think there was, of course, I'm partial to Yoda, so there are some good Yoda moments.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Anything that finding out that the Inquisitors were the Jedi Temple guards. There's just so much. There's a lot of good connectivities from this into the other mediums and movies and stuff like that. But I think the moments, those moments that pull in a lot of stuff from nostalgic from like your Obi-Wans and your Yodas and your Vaders, and that definitely was memorable. But it was always surrounded by some kind of emotion, and it was just so good. So definitely good moments. You had any particular favorites that were like
top favorite?
Yeah, I mean, like probably my. Those are all good moments, but I think I don't know. My favorite part of the show, though, was probably. I hate to take away from the Ghost Crew, but my favorite moment, my favorite part of the show is probably the Ahsoka Vader stuff.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking specifically the moment where she breaks his helmet and you see Anakin, you hear Matt Lanter.
Yes.
And he, in Matt Lanter's voice, is saying basically like, I'm going to kill you, kind of Ahsoka, that kind of stuff. That was crazy. That was crazy. Just emotional weight behind all of that was pretty wild to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was season 2, I think, right? So it's like, you came out of the gate. Episode 1 was kind of very establishing, or season 1 was very establishing. But then when you get into, you got really into a lot of Jedi lore with the season 2, the Temple, Yoda, Ezra getting his crystal. Although I think that might have been the first season, but obviously Ahsoka connecting Vader and Anakin together. It's like. Because you got to remember, Vader at this point, even at this point, is still kind of a myth. Like no one knows about him really. You saw his appearance in front of Kanan and Ezra. Like, who is this guy? And it's like he's this powerful Sith. And then, even in the books, it's like even in the comics, they're like, who's this guy? It actually, if you read Russell's review, or even read issue number 12 that Charles Soule has of Vader, in that issue, what's crazy is that Vader even brings it up to Palpatine. Like he says, no one gets my role. Everybody thinks I'm your just robot. So Palpatine gathers all his officers together, and he introduces Vader as. He speaks for me. You listen to him. And I'll go ahead. It's crazy. I'm going to spoil this. It's been out for a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's awesome because he's in a room, not on the Death Star, obviously. I don't know where. I think he's just on Coruscant, and he gets all of his commanders together. So it's like lieutenants, his admirals, and all this. And then there's some stormtroopers and stuff like that. Well, Vader. So he introduces Vader. He says, "This is Vader, my right hand man. If he speaks for me, as if you address him like you're addressing me." So Vader steps up and calls out 5 names, and these 5 people come up, and he says, something like, if you don't do my bidding, or that I'll randomly pick you next time. And then he force chokes and kills all 5 of them. And everybody's like, oh. So right away, he's established himself in the Empire, obviously. Yeah. But the rest of the galaxy doesn't really know who this guy is, So it's a very good part of the book. Anyway, so I think Vader, I was hoping he was going to come back.
Yeah.
But we got Thrawn, and we didn't even mention Thrawn. I mean, as far as moments
cool.
or part of the show.
Pretty surprising.
Yeah, but I feel like Thrawn, I don't know, Thrawn was great to see. I don't know how much of an, I don't know, I feel like he wasn't as big of an impact as a lot of people kind of thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you think about it, he shows up in season 3, right? Yeah. And I feel like season 3 was a big build up to him finding where their base was, right on. I don't know what planet that was now.
I can't remember what that was.
Where the Bendu was.
Anatol or something like that. Yeah. Adol. Some.
Yeah. So, a lot of his stuff was doing what he does, strategizing. Getting all the information, collecting all the trinkets and stuff from Hera and Sabine, and trying to figure out his enemy. He's a big strategic, chess player type character. So I don't know. I just he's not really menacing. Even if you read his book, he's not ruthless. Like the Emperor or Tarkin or Vader. He's very strategic. He does things by the book. He outwits you. He outthinks you, and he lets his might, his Star Destroyers, his TIE fighters, and all that stuff, finish the job. But so it's funny we didn't really mention him. I don't know how much of an impact truly did Thrawn have on this series.
Yeah, like you said, he definitely provided that. To me, it was that ominous, eventual doom where he's in season 3, like he's coming. He just kind of bulldozes his way through the rebels and finds them in the end, and then draws them away or pushes them away. But yeah, in this season 4, he was very much, I feel like, on the back burner a lot. It was like it was Governor Price bringing it all back to where it started. To the Lothal crew. So Governor Price is part of Lothal. So I understand all that. But then at the very end, Thrawn comes and just almost wipes them out completely. So I just think there's more. There's going to be more to tell with him.
But I can't think of a huge standout moment with him that really, there was a good moment when he's.
I just think the Bendu stuff.
The Bendu stuff was
at the end,
pretty good.
Right at the end of that season.
True. He didn't really have a lot of moments with the Ghost Crew, because there was really no.
Hera.
There was a good one with Hera, sure.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
But I don't know. It was really, he was on the bridge or in his office a lot,
Yeah.
But that's who Thrawn is. Thrawn is.
Yeah, it was very true to his character, but in the books it was much scarier because he just did more.
He's a lot more.
You allowed him to do more in the old books, but in this series, you're
plus he took over at that. He was in charge at that point too. Yeah. So,
but I think there's more. We'll see more.
No, I definitely think. The fact again, I think he returns. I think he comes back during that era of between 6 and 7. Somehow, I don't know if he comes back with, there's no First Order at that point.
More Imperial stuff? I don't know.
I don't know if he's Imperial or if he's.
I think it's got to be the Chiss ascendancy. I think it's got to be something to do with the Chiss.
Yeah.
They may try to take over or just fight back or something like that.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good ending to the series. I think is a good. I think it just leads into more stories. It's similar to what the Clone Wars did. It led into the series, and I think the series will lead into the next.
It really does bridge. Like that's the Clone Wars. Yeah, literally, like you just said, leads right into it, and it's great because the Rebels show, it just. You think a trilogy of animated series, they tie together somehow. And if Filoni did a third one, it would definitely tie everything together because Rebels just skips right over the movies.
That's right.
Takes you right into the next era where there's a perfect gap to fill. I think that's just brilliant. It's just so brilliant. So left the door wide open for this third trilogy, this third series to make this trilogy happen.
Yeah. And I think ultimately that's how Clone Wars would have ended.
Yeah.
Open-ended in a sense. Because I think you would have had, those stories with Ahsoka surviving Order 66, not knowing what happens to her, but she goes off, and you get into her book,
right,
which kind of tells the story of of how she hooks up with Bale and becomes Fulcrum. But prior to that, it's like she has to survive Order 66, and then you have your open-ended questions or stories that showed these three troopers, Gregor, Wolf, and Rex, how they discover the chip, so they're not killing Jedis or trying to kill Jedis.
Right.
But and obviously the stories of the Jedi are concluded in episode 3, so you didn't have to conclude Obi-Wan's storyline in Clone Wars or Anakin's or Yoda's and all that stuff, because that moves on to episode 3. But those characters that we got in Rebels, Ahsoka and Rex, even Hondo and
that's why he started
Hondo and Satine's sister, right? You got other characters from the Clone Wars into this.
Saw carried over.
Yeah. So it wasn't fully. It needed some kind of conclusion, but again, I think it would have ended this way too, where there would have been like, oh, where those characters go next, and then we see them here, and then like you said, we see that they're going on to something else, which will be the next series, I think. So very satisfying ending, I think. I'm not as personally, I'm not as upset. I'm not thinking like, oh, I want season 5 or it needs to be.
I
don't know how much more you could have done.
I think it lasted perfectly.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Because at first, a lot of people were, especially at Celebration. Remember when the announcement was, "This is the last season"? Like, what?
Yeah, but
it's like
it feels right.
It does feel right. It because I don't know what you would do. I don't know what else.
One, you're backing up too close to the movies.
Very close.
You will be overlapping.
I mean, it would have been cool.
Yeah.
to get to Scarif.
Yeah.
To be on Yavin and get the call and go, and see Jyn Erso. All this. I mean, that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, I think they're going to keep that separated, like,
right. Yeah.
Pretty easily. Anyway, I hope that was kind of, I didn't want to just sit there and I didn't want us to sit there and just break down the episode. I wanted to kind of dig deep into it and break it and just figure out things like the characters and stories and make sure that we're where we are with how we feel that it ended and where it fits in the universe. And I mean, I just think we got everything we could out of Dave for it. I don't know what else he could have done to make it better or to make it more entertaining, because you got to think about this being like, this was the start of a new generation of kids that were introduced to Star Wars. I mean, this is how some of them were introduced to Star Wars. I mean, my Sam, who's 8 now, when she was 4, this is when it came out, and that was her first view of Star Wars. She fell in love with it. She enjoys it. I mean, she's not totally into it. My youngest now, who's going to be 4, she's into the movies.
Yeah.
Already. She can't wait to watch The Last Jedi next week. She watches the Clone Wars with me a little bit on Saturday mornings. I haven't got her into Rebels yet, so I don't know. I think she will fully be into those here after about a year. So anyway, but as more and more content gets released, every generation of kids is getting introduced. It's not something that it's not fully something that we have to pull out on the bookshelf and give them and say, here, this is Star Wars. This is what I grew up with. It's like, well, this is Star Wars now. This is what you're growing up with. It's like, because before the prequels came out, like your generation, it was like, here's what I knew when I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
But now, and for a while there, we thought, well, now we have the 6 movies.
All we had we had the books that carry us to keep us going.
Yeah, the expanded universe for a while. Correct. Yes. But as far as movies go, it was just something to watch. It was like, yeah. So anyway, great stuff. Good stuff. Like I said, this is Rebels month. We will be continuing to talk about Rebels. We'll bring some other people on the show to talk about Rebels, look back on the show, and hopefully keep talking about how much of an impact it has with us and with people around the world here. Any final thoughts on it or anything? What do you think?
I don't know, man. It's pretty good. Pretty good cast.
Yeah, I want to get back and I want to go back and watch. Since it's Rebels month, I'll go back and watch some stuff and get into stuff. I mean, we didn't even mention the kind of we got 3PO and R2 in there. We got Leia in there.
Yeah,
Lando for sure.
We got a lot of references, even just a couple episodes ago of Krennic,
the
Stardust,
the discovery of the Y-wings and first shots of X-wings.
Stuff with Saw and Forrest Whitaker.
Yes,
Mon Mothma.
No, there's some good stuff in there. Yeah, for sure. Okay, we'll be back next week. Talk about more. Of course, we'll hit up all the news that comes out. I'll get more and more into. I feel like I'm going to bust through this novelization pretty fast, mainly because I'm going to Nashville on Friday. That's 6 hours round trip, so I'm going to get through 6 hours of the book for sure. It's a short novel. Audiobook. I think it's only 11 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I actually might be done with it by next week.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll get back to finishing Canto Bight because I haven't finished Canto Bight. It's hard. It's
double
hard.
Speed. Good bust through it.
I do that for a little while, but then I'm like, you know what? I don't know. It's just the pacing is a little off for me. Anyway, all right, before we sign off, I do want to say quickly, you actually mentioned him. I do want to mention that my thoughts and prayers are with Kevin Smith, who suffered a massive heart attack a couple weeks ago. I'm a huge fan of his. I listen to a lot of his stuff, watch a lot of his movies. And I was thrilled to hear that he survived and he's doing well now, and I think he's back doing shows already. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that if anybody, I'm sure you've heard, but and I know that a lot of people that are Star Wars fans are big fans of Kevin Smith because he's a huge Star Wars fan. And that is somebody, I'm telling you right now, that is somebody that I hope one day gets to direct an episode of a live action show.
Yeah.
Because he's doing a lot of stuff with Supergirl and Flash.
He is.
I think he's done an episode of Goldbergs. He does a lot of TV stuff. So he jokes around in all of his shows that they would never ask me to do Star Wars. It's like, what, the Clerks guy? Never. But it's like, but they want fans of Star Wars to do Star Wars stuff. So it's like. Not that he needs to come up with a story. He just needs, I feel like he can direct an episode, and I think it would make his life.
Yeah.
To do something like that. So, anyway, Kevin, I know you don't listen, but hey, hope you're doing well, and we're big fans of yours. So, all right, is that it?
I think that's it.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Of course, InsideTheForce.com. Listen to all the other shows that we've got, all the other episodes we got on there. Of course, subscribe on your devices with iTunes, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, or Google Play. He's Kryptonian1138 on Twitter. I'm DCotting21 on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on Inside the Force, at Inside the Force. And we're, again, just a mere, I think we're only like 83 days away from Solo or something like that. Of course, we will be talking about that as the news comes out. We should be getting close to, now it's 79 days. 79 days, wow. Incredible. We got another Star Wars movie just around the corner. In fact, actually, side note, did you hear about those posters apparently that got ripped off.
Yeah. Cody showed me all that stuff.
Wow.
It's nuts.
Yeah, I
Han
haven't
Solo
heard anything
posters.
about it from Lucasfilm or anything.
Crazy.
But complete side note. Thanks for listening, everybody. Be good this week. We'll see you next week. For Casey,
Rebellions are built on hope. That is all.
that is all.
Because it is.
Very good. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Catch you guys next week.
Goodbye, everybody.
May the Force be with you.
Thank you for listening to Inside the Force, a Star Wars podcast hosted by David Cottingham and Casey Cooley. For more shows, additional content, articles, and the latest Star Wars news, please visit InsideTheForce.com. Inside the Force. For the Force in all of us.